Mhm. Welcome to Monday Morning Business Foreplay. This is the strategic warm-up that makes the rest of your week hit just right. Today, our guest is David Majzner. The thing that I loved about David's business is, I guess maybe because I'm Gen X, but he is bringing comic books back. Comic books where you are the hero of your business, and they are comic books that don't get thrown away like our business cards would, right? So I'm Coleen Stubbs. I'm the founder of Simplified CEO Systems, and I help midlife entrepreneurs simplify their business so that they can lead with clarity instead of chaos. In short, I simplify, go high level, teaching my clients how to simplify, what to automate and when, and what they should delegate and what they should never delegate. David today is going to be showing us inside his comic books, showing us why behind his comic books, and the results that we can expect from having those. So think of it like this. If you had an office, a real estate office, and there's always a table right with books. Back in the day, they had magazines there, and a lot of times somebody that worked in the office would bring them in, they'd take off the name label that where it got shipped to, and then it would be just sitting there, right? And people would take those magazines home. It's the same thing with the comic book idea. So they are there, they are in your office, and they are available for people to dive into. They're entertaining, they're colorful, and they tell your story. And that's the important part of that. The reason that I like them, and I know clearly it's a big part of it's because I'm Gen X and because I did the 10-cent comic books, right? And we'd walk, there was a little convenience store that we would walk to that had the penny candies, and they had comic books for 10 cents, and we would buy those and bring them home. Of course, this was early 70s, so a long time ago. But we loved the colorfulness of them. We loved the hero in the story. And so the benefit to having the comic books that you create is that you become the hero in the story that your clients are reading. So why don't you take a minute and tell us a little bit about you and the inspiration behind creating these, David?
Sure. So thank you. The truth is, this happened kind of by accident. I ended up getting fairly ill and wasn't able to do other things that I wanted to. And I've been a writer since I was 14 and just started playing around with some of my old files that I had hidden away and was having fun with it. And then I found this really cool thing called AI. And I know some people love it, some people hate it. The truth is, it's an amazing tool. And I used it to take some of the things that I've been doing and enhancing. So taking what I was good at and making it a little bit better. Well, because I'm business oriented, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I started thinking about, the fun things I could do for a friend of mine. And so I just created a superhero for him. And I used some AI illustrations to create a really cool looking picture of him. And then I wrote a 10-chapter story that he could just throw on his Facebook page. Well, it was a hit, and the idea would just kind of spurred more ideas. And originally I had thought about, real estate agents. This would be great for them. Well, some of my first clients were a junk delivery guy and a plumber and then an electrician. And, there's a chef, so there's a lot of different, characters that can be created. And it became kind of a life of its own where now we have even characters joining together and sharing each other's story and fighting together against the villain.
I love that. And I think when you said, I didn't think of joining them together because Nicole and I collaborate on a lot of things. Carl and I do as well. So that's a great idea. I also was thinking, where they would be really good as far as a brick and mortar business is automotive. I mean, I go in there and I'm just going to be real honest with you. I have zero desire to pick up a mechanics magazine. Zero desire to do that. But if there was a comic book that told me about the owner or the story or the history, I would be all over that. That I would
Yep.
definitely be picking up. Tell me how this works digitally then. So we've talked a little bit about like brick and mortar or an actual building facility, real estate agents, finance, like you said, a plumber, different places like that where they have a physical presence. What about businesses that don't have a physical presence where we're just digitally? How can this benefit us?
Sure. And so just to clarify the concept a little bit, the word searches are actually better for the waiting rooms, like you were talking about the gas station or the mechanic's place or even an office, like an office or like a doctor's office. We create a word search that has your branding on it. And so people actually interact with it at the locations, and then they can take it home with them, and it sits on their desk, and it's all branded with, say, the real estate agents or the plumber's information on the front and back with QR codes. So that's actually a better one for those locations. For the digital, the hero story is perfect because when I create the story, I do create it in 10 chapters that they can get the digital copy of and put it on either social media, they can put it in their newsletters. They can even do contests. You were talking about working together. We were actually thinking about doing say, a food fight where two superheroes get into a little battle in their city and they get votes, and whoever gets the most votes gets to throw a digital pie in the face of the other superhero. So there's a lot of fun things we can do digitally that gets engagement and gets people excited about the brand.
I love that. So so this is my pad. So when you have the word searches, would they come on a pad like this where people can just take one off?
I was going to share the screen with that because it's an actual book, and it's a 25 puzzle page book that has their information on the front and on the back of the book.
And you're welcome to share your screen whenever you want. Also, so the words that are in there are those words that are descriptive of the business, like your SEO?
Yep. So for a real estate agent, if I was doing a word search for them, every book or every page would be about either like a kitchen or a bathroom or the lawn or whatever that is. I did one for a restaurant that does smoked meats, and I created the hero story for them so that they were, the smoke king and the ember queen. And then they did the word search that was all about barbecue and smoking and things like that. And then we created a coloring book to go along with it that had pictures of their food that they could color and pictures of their superhero that they could color as well.
I love that. I think that the reason I'm asking about the SEO is because those are your keywords and the things that you want them to tie back to you specifically. I love that. Would you like to? Yes, please share your screen and share with us.
Okay, so then you can see here, are you seeing the hero book
Yep.
part? Okay, so this one is for a restaurant. It's called Kendall's Grill. And so what I did is I created the superhero story for Kendall's Grill. So that's him as his superhero. And then he's working with his wife and his 3-year-old daughter, and she's the sauce master. So her little gun shoots ketchup and mustard. And then this is the word search so that it has everything related to a kind of a fast food or quick service restaurant. And then this one's kind of a fun one. This one is another one made to sit on people's desks. So it's the fourth book in the series, and it's called the I Learned book. And what happens is it has a calendar, 52 weeks, where you type in what you learned that week. And then it has 52 pages of prompts that say, like, I learned today from a book, or I learned from a discussion with a child, or I learned from a sermon or something like that. And so it's just a way for you to have that book on people's desk with your branding and your information on it. And then this is a word search for a fitness trainer. So that would be all about fitness. And then this was probably the most fun I've had. This is Lady Law. She's an attorney in North Carolina, and she created her whole website around Lady Law. And what you were talking about with SEO words, she told me that the most beautiful part about this whole process was that if you search personal injury attorney, North Carolina, you get millions of responses. But if you type in Lady Law, you get one.
I
And
love
so
that.
we've increased her branding power.
I love that.
This is Joy Minder. This is a friend of mine from Minnesota, Leanne Lyon, and hers is all about empowering people in their business.
I love Leanne. That's why I chose her. Okay, so tell me, what does this look like when you keep saying they'll keep these on their desk? How do they do that digitally? Is it just on their PC?
No, okay, that I was talking about the actual book. So if you have a word search and you have their branding on the word search, then that's going to sit on people's desks for months, even a year, because people don't throw books away. So the digital part is the hero book and the hero story. The other 3 books are all paper books, so that they actually sit in people's desks. If you think about, if you go get a promotional item from somebody and it's maybe a keychain, it might go in a drawer, or a mouse pad might not get used. But if you have a book people don't throw them away. They have something about not throwing away books. And so then they also will pick it up and play with the puzzles, might give it to the kids for the coloring, different things like that. And the journal has actually been one of the most popular. I thought that was kind of a nice little ad, and people like that the most.
Yeah, I love that. And so let's flip the switch over to the digital, since everybody here, I think, has a digital. Nicole said in the chat, give it as gifts. I think that's brilliant, especially to people that don't know so much about your business. That would be a great thing. But let's switch it over. I think everybody here has a digital business. Let's switch it over to the benefits and how we would utilize it in the virtual world.
Sure. So the simple truth is every story is easy to share. If you have either Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those are built for this. So that if you take your first picture of your hero and then you put your chapter one of the story, then you'll actually get engagement. And especially if you understand how to get engagement with other people, you get the interactions. And then if you decide to partner with somebody, that actually gets the mutual share. So let's say you and I did a story and my hero and your hero are interacting. I would post that and talk about your story as well. It's so great. We had Coleen on and her superhero, and I had to defeat the credit card skimmer of East LA, something like that. And then it just increases your engagement with your audience.
Okay, so when you're saying this, you're saying that the business owner becomes the hero of their story, which they are. I would agree 110% after being in business for 37 years for myself. Absolutely, the business owner is the hero, but here comes the thing, especially online, virtually. So many business owners suffer from imposter syndrome. I would think that would be a huge challenge for you in getting the business owners to understand that they truly are the superhero of their story.
Well, it's actually the opposite, and that's a great question. Thank you. It's because most people don't want their image out there. They don't want their face necessarily. But if I can create an Iron Man character for them, like an Iron Man character or a Spider-Man or something like that, where that character now becomes the face of the business, they can pretty much say anything. And if you think about sometimes the anonymity of the internet is dangerous because people just say whatever. But there's a cool part about it where you can put out your message and you're not challenged by saying, are they going to believe me? Are they going to listen to me? Or I don't look good, or my teeth aren't straight, or whatever. If you can put your character out there and say, you know what, best plumber in town, or help this plumber get rid of Hairball. I had a character named Hairball that was the villain, and they can use that as a mouthpiece for their business.
Okay, I like that, right? And I think that I liked that. So I can see what you're saying when you're saying create an image and you're not, I mean, it's meant to be a likeness of you, not an exact replica of you. And so I think that there is freedom in that. So how do you get people's story from them? What's your process?
Sure. So I have about a 30-minute interview that I do that just basically goes through and has me find out what your values are. Because the most important thing is that I want your character to be able to tell your story with your values and not just a generic story. Because what you can do is you can go online right now and for $49 you can type in some information, you'll get a story written for yourself. But it's really not personalized. Everybody's story is different. And so if I can tell your story and avoid some of the pitfalls, maybe you don't want to deal with anything with politics. Well, we'd keep that away. Or maybe politics is your thing, and so your story could get in there as well. And so there's different pitfalls that we avoid by doing a 30-minute interview.
Okay, I would agree with that because I feel like the important parts need to be exact. And when I say important parts, I mean the virtues, the things that you hold dear. Like I absolutely can't stand politics. So that wouldn't be, I would never want that to be in my politics, to be a part of my story in any way, just because I don't like them. But for my husband who loves them, clearly that would be a good thing,
Sure.
right?
Well, and here's just to show you a little bit. This is my picture, and this is me as my avatar. And I am much more bold as this avatar than I am in real life because I can post things up there about, slaying the dragons or slaying, using the dragon, my dragon of power to defeat the dragon of fear or something like that. And then I did one for a little coffee company. And, it is an actual person, but it's a anamorphized person of kind of like a James Bond character for their logo. Their logo was this little black fox. And so I turned it into a superhero spy for them.
You say that you're more bold as your superhero, but I would say probably you're not more bold as your superhero than you are internally. I think that the way we put ourselves out there into the world a lot of times is protected by this, like, how are people going to perceive me? I think the superhero actually embodies who you actually are and therefore is a better tool in sharing you and your business with your audience.
100% agree with
I
that.
think the bars are down. It's like you can shine vicariously through your superhero, right? Does that make sense?
I've had people where I've created a story and they go, "How did you create that story so perfectly about me?" And it's like, "Well, you did tell me all this in the interview. You just didn't realize, that some people can see more." And the truth is that there's an old saying, it says, "Facts tell, but stories sell." And if you can tell your story, you get people's heart, and it has much more impact.
And that's so interesting that you say that because I love stories. I am like a people connoisseur, if that's a thing, right? I could sit at Walmart all day long and watch people. And and while we're on the Walmart story, I just have to share this story really quick. I usually look like this even when I'm doing farm work. But this weekend I painted some nesting boxes and a poop shelf in my new chicken coop. And I was spray painted it hot pink. And so I had my paint clothes on. I was a hot mess, and I thought my paint clothes were the worst part of me. But I ran out of paint, and so I had to run into Walmart. And I very seldom even run into Walmart. I don't even like Walmart, but I ran into Walmart to get paint. And I said to the lady, and I got like 12 cans because I'm always afraid that they're going to change the colors and I won't be able to get what I need. So I told the lady that was checking me out, I said, by the way, I'm old enough to buy all this. So before he asked for my ID, I am. I know you're kind of probably worried about that. Anyways, I get back, I paint my shelf, I go in my house at night to go to bed and realize that my entire right arm is pink and my feet are pink. I took my flip flops off and they've got the V from the thong on my flip flops. I'm like, and I was worried about my clothes going into the Walmart. So, anyways, just fun little part about my story. But I love people and I love people's story. And I think that stories and relationships are just emerging and it excites me beyond belief because I want people to share who they truly are. I want them to show up authentically. I want them to show up with their pink arm or their crazy whatever. I want to build relationships with people that I truly feel like I know. And so we have to get back to the story. I hated that thing, that era. It wasn't an era. That trend where everybody's going, oh, go faceless. Nobody needs to see you. I'm sorry. I don't want to have dinner with somebody that I can't see. I certainly don't want to have a conversation about what's lacking in my business and see if you can help me when I can't even see your face. And so I feel like relationships is key to success in building businesses. I have always felt that way. And when I say always, I mean from watching my dad build businesses when I was 5, 6, 7 years old and watching him build relationships, I knew that relationships would be the key to success in every single business, to sustainable success. Yes, you may have a flash in a pan, may have something that took off really quick for a minute, but you cannot have a sustainably successful business without building relationships. And so the books that you're bringing, the stories that you're sharing are key to success. And I love everything about this. I know that you help people define their story. And sometimes that takes you digging into the things, like you said, that they don't say, that they shared without sharing, reading between the lines, if you will. That's good on you being a good storyteller. And part of that also is making the story engaging. How else can we do that? How else can we bring eyes to our story with the comic book?
So you're asking me more ideas of how to get more
I
eyes?
mean, I know that just like we're creating engagement by sharing it that way. What other ways are there? Is there a time when it's appropriate to email it to people? Is,
Well, okay, so one of the other things that I've done is I have on my Facebook page, what I've been doing is creating a good morning and a good afternoon post, because a lot of people on Facebook will be posting their, like, just a way to get engagement for them, a good morning. And so what I did is I created a using a superhero, I created a good afternoon from your hero book. And so you can do the same thing. And because sometimes people, are afraid to post things on their social media because they don't want to be looking like they're trying to sell something. But if you were to take your brand and do a good morning or good afternoon to response to people, and then it has your name on it as well, you're getting people that go, oh, who is that? That's kind of cool. And they click on it, and all of a sudden they're liking you on their page.
okay, I love that. And that's interesting because I try to do in my stories, even good morning from the farm or watching the sunset from the farm, whatever, something like that. So I think that's a good way of doing that. Let's talk a little bit about, you said that you create 10 chapters. Let's dive into that. Are they by page? Are they so many pages long? Are they by topic? Are they standalone?
Yep. So this is one, actually, I create kids books as well. And so this is one that is Rusty. I have a dog, he's an Australian Shepherd, and we have Rusty in the Magic Stick series. Okay. And so this is all the chapters. So each chapter has an illustration and a chapter. Now, for the kids ones, they're short chapters. For the adult ones, they're going to be a much, longer chapter and engaging in, the superhero story and things like that. So this is a personal trainer. So this is the Zone Guardian. So we made one for his office and his motto. And so this is the chapter, the book cover that he could have printed, but it's also what he could post on social media. So this is the chapter one illustration, and then it has chapter one called Running in the Dark. So what he would do is he would take this chapter, just copy and paste it. It's one file for him in each chapter, and then post that on his social media on Monday or Tuesday. And then he'd have people share it from maybe his BNI groups or things like that. And then this will be chapter two. And so every week he can post one and people start to look and they'll start to expect the story. Hey, what's going to happen? And each illustration is a little bit different, but it keeps on brand and it keeps their logo, their colors, everything in mind. Some chapters are longer, you know.
So, okay, my marketing brain is going, wow. When I post on social media, I have 5 graphics I use regular and I change out text on screen, but it's consistency and branding. When I create my social content, my website, my landing page, my emails, my calendars, everything that I create inside my business is based off of my story. My social media is meant to take people along the path of my story, to touch on certain points that can stand alone, but can also run together. Same as when you look at my landing pages and my website and all of the things, they're meant to flow. And so I love what you're saying with that. And so in essence, if I'm hearing you correctly, the graphic can be used and then the chapter could be your caption. So your story is consistently being told
Correct.
repeatedly. I
Yes.
love that.
And then I'm working on packages also so that we can do just short one chapter stories also. So if you want to just send out a Christmas story or a 4th of July story, maybe, Captain Electric and the bottle rocket incident or something like that. And so we can just create short stories that are just for that holiday or that event.
I kind of like Captain Underpants better.
There you
I don't know
go.
if you know him, but
Yes, I had my kids loved Captain Underpants.
yeah, I have a whole more than a baker's dozen of grandchildren that love Captain Underpants. So
I actually had an accountant who was trying to make himself a little bit more exciting, and I gave him the suspenders of justice, but he said he also wanted his villains to be hung up by their underwear by light poles. That's how he defeats them. So
very good. That's funny. What they don't come up with. All righty. I want to, if anybody has questions, can we open the floor to questions? If you have questions, raise your virtual hand. Mike, I see your hand. Come forward, please.
What's up? Okay, yeah, I love this idea with these comic books. Now, the idea is that you have something physical to hand over to somebody. Now, a lot of us are in virtual businesses. Does it have the same impact if I send a PDF or something? How do I make that happen in a virtual business?
So for the hero books, they're actually designed for virtual. I don't create a lot of the printed copies of the hero books themselves. The hero books are meant to be used on all social platforms. So the image should be able to be used. It can be used in email blasts, things like that. The books that are in your hands are the word searches, the coloring books, and the journals. And those I really don't have a good digital solution for.
Understood. You physically interact with them. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. But I think though too, to follow up on Mike's question, if we purchase this through you and we get it, is there a way that we could print it? Like when I create things on Canva, I just send them to print through Canva. Because sometimes there are some clients that you would like to have it.
Sure. All of these, what I've been using is Amazon because I can get such good pricing on the printing. But some people have local printers that they want to use. So you can get that once you've purchased the product, you have the rights to the digital file. If you want me to print it through Amazon, I can get it probably $1 to $2 cheaper per book for you.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Yeah, and Lil said in the chat, she said PDFs.
Yep.
I think that's
it does come in a PDF. Yep.
Yeah, very good. Do we have any other questions? Do we have any questions for David? All right. So David, why don't you tell us, I want to make sure that we get from you how people can connect with you. And if you have a lead magnet you want to share, I would love to have you take a minute and put that in the chat.
Sure. I have a really good offer for anyone who wants it. I will put it's just yourherobook.com. If you schedule an appointment with me, I will create a hero for you just to see what you look like as a hero and make a hero card. And that's completely free. So I'll just let you do that. And then if you want me to go farther with it, we can.
And then the best social platform to connect with you would be Facebook?
Yes, it's just Your Hero Book on Facebook.
David, this has been so fun. This was super exciting. I love everything about this, and I feel like I have a good eye for businesses, and I love that this is so unique. I can honestly say you're the first person I've met who's making hero books, and I think it's brilliant.
You know, the scary thing, I'm the only person in the world doing what I'm doing with the hero books and the promotional books like this. And that's great, but it's also you're reinventing the wheel, and I'm learning how to connect with folks like you. I really appreciate you being patient with me today. It meant a lot.
Absolutely, no problem. This has been great. So I have 3 closing questions that are meant to put you on the spot. So some of them we'll have to turn around a little bit, reword them, but are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, number 1. What's the one thing everyone in your industry is doing that you think is complete bullshit, and why are they still doing it? Now, your industry being maybe the storytelling industry.
There are a lot of promotional books out there where you can spend $49 and get a story about your child, about your dog, or whatever. And they're okay. They're okay for what they are. But the truth is, if you really want to tell your story, it takes a little bit more than, answering 5 questions. And it's hard to set that apart because people think it's, I can get that cheaper. Well, you really can't.
Right. So that goes back to the relationship building and the connection. And we have to have that connection in order to build a sustainably successful business. All right. Question number 2. Here we go. What's a mistake you made that cost you serious money or time that you kept making anyways because you were too proud or too scared to admit that it wasn't working?
This is a fairly new business. So I'm really trying to make less mistakes than I made in the past. So I'll just say my biggest mistake is trying to do everything myself and hiding from the issues that are difficult. And for me, I'm actually speaking in a few minutes on authenticity. And I think you have to just become authentic and realize where you are and then make the changes you need to make or bring the people on board who have the skills that you don't have. Like what you do with your Simplified CEO. It's brilliant because there's people like me who love the tools, but don't really know how to use them effectively. I'm learning to surround myself with people who are better than me at the things that I'm not good at.
I think that's huge. I think we would all agree with that. And I think it takes a lot of bravery, actually, to do that, a lot of courage to be okay with not being the best in
When
your
I'm
own
speaking,
business. I mean, it's kind of we feel like it's our business, and so we feel like we've got to be the best at it. The truth of the matter is when we share our business, then we shine brighter, we do more, we reach more, we grow more. And so just learning to be able to do that. Alrighty, if you could only give one piece of advice to someone in the storytelling industry, but it would go completely against the grain, what would it be, and why is it worth the backlash?
well, it actually goes along with what we just said. Be authentic, be transparent, and be bold. So if you can take those three things, so if you can decide to be authentic and tell the truth about where you are, what it means to you, and then transparent, because people don't want you to be perfect, they want you to be authentic. And so if you can tell them, hey, this is what I struggled with, this is my challenge, you inspire people because they want to see that they're not alone in their issues. And then all of these things take boldness to start and boldness to complete, and then boldness to put your story out there, because your story is important, not just to you, it's important to the world. And there are people who are waiting to hear what you have to say. And you need to speak with boldness because it's valuable.
This is true. And I think there's such an art to being transparent without TMI. I feel like there's an art to that. It is needed that you actually have to be able to make acknowledgement of different things as you go along the journey of your business. Acknowledge them, but not deep dive into all the personal things behind it. But in sharing our story, I find that one of the most powerful things is sharing the why. Sharing not just, I do this because I want to help entrepreneurs simplify their business and grow. No, I teach entrepreneurs to simplify their business through automation and delegation because I missed the moments that couldn't be on the calendar with my kids, the times when their hearts were broke, the times when they just wanted to unwind and have me close. I couldn't be there for those. That's my why. And I don't want you missing those moments that can't be calendared. And so there's a difference in being transparent and honest and authentic in your why versus just being honest in it, which is saying, I want all entrepreneurs to have time freedom and financial freedom to build a business and a life they love.
Do
Like,
you want to take that to the next step?
yes,
So what I do in my networking, I do a lot of networking, a lot of communication with people. And my favorite question is why? Because I'll have people say, yeah, I'm an accountant. I've been doing this for 20 years. Why? And it's amazing how many people go, whoa, no one's ever asked me why I do what I do. And if you can actually pull out the authenticity of other people, it's really simple. Just one question, why? And then be quiet.
and then listen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David, for being here. Not everyone is willing to just jump on here and dive into it, especially if you haven't been here before and you don't know what to expect. So I really appreciate this conversation. This has been Monday Morning Business Foreplay. If today's conversation has helped you to see something differently, make one clear decision, or take one meaningful step forward, then this hour did exactly what it was meant to do. Because clarity creates momentum and momentum beats motivation every day. Thank you, David, for sharing your experience and your perspective, your amazing books with us. And if you found value in this conversation, please share it, tag someone who needs to hear it, or invite them to join us next week.